All right, so it looks like we're recording. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, everyone. We kind of are on a limited amount of time today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm sorry if you're just joining, but I do want to go ahead and get into it. Let me see. So this webinar today is on database search translation. So I know a lot of times when we have projects and things like that we're working on, we need to do a search in more than one database. So I have created a search here in Medline. I know a lot of us start our searches in Medline, and when we have consultations and things like that, we frequently do our primary search in Medline Ovid. So I've created a search here and I'm going to translate this to Embase, and I'm also going to translate it to Cinahl. I know those are sort of some of our more frequently used databases, and we'll be able to see sort of the differences in the databases and kind of how they work. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go too much into how to search. Try and mute everyone. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I won't be able to go too much into like how to search and kind of search strategies and things like that today. Apologies. I'm going to focus mostly on just translating the search that you would already have created. Okay. So this search, you can see it's about metabolic syndrome, lifestyle interventions, heart attack, that kind of thing. And then at the end, so the last line of this actual search is on line 10. And then I've just sort of added this line here at the end to show y'all how adjacency searching works, but that's sort of a separate little part. So we'll go ahead and do this first. So we're first going to translate this to Embase. So let me see, and let me actually make sure. Okay, it is still recording. So I'm going to have Embase open in another tab. And what we're first going to do is for each concept, we're going to just translate it line by line. So this is our subject heading right here, and this is our keyword line. And we will search this same subject heading in Embase. So in Embase, the subject headings are not called mesh terms. They're not called medical subject headings. They are called M-tree terms. And you'll find them here at this tab at the top where my cursor is. So you'll click that. It's similar to in PubMed where you go to, it says mesh database. They just call it something different. Cinahl, as you'll see in a moment, calls it something different as well. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to just copy this actually. And I'm going to search for this subject heading over here. So as you can see, subject headings are not identical across all databases, unfortunately. What might be called one thing in Medline might be called something else in Embase. So metabolic syndrome in Medline is metabolic syndrome X in Embase. So, but it doesn't leave you hanging. It tells you, it shows you down here what to use. So you will select this subject heading. It's automatically going to check this box that says explode, which means it's going to grab anything underneath your main heading. When you're translating, you want your search to be as close to your original as possible. So we did not explode over here. You can see on line 4, it'll tell you if you've exploded. So I did explode line 4, but we did not explode this subject heading. So I'm not going to do it over here in Embase. So I'm actually going to uncheck this box. I'm going to say add to query builder and say search. And you'll notice here that it says /DE. In my mind, that stands for did not explode. So it tells you what you're doing. Okay. And it's going to start building your search right here. I'm just going to clear the search box. And then the databases are fairly copy paste friendly, which is nice. Unfortunately, the syntax is not identical in each of them. So for example, our syntax in Medline for our keyword search line is this TIABKW, which is again telling the database I'm searching for this search term or phrase in the article titles, abstracts, and any author supplied keywords. In Medline, it's going to be period, comma, comma, period. In Embase, it's going to be colon, comma, comma, nothing. So I will grab this line. I'm going to copy paste it into right here. And I'm just going to change this syntax and delete that. So this is what it's going to look like. I am going to click search. And let's see. And that is all we did. So we're then going to combine lines 1 and or 2. So I'm going to just change this to or, which is what we did here on line 3. And say combine. And so that concept is finished. So now I'll move to the next one, and I'm going to go. So we need to do lifestyle, this subject heading of lifestyle. So I'm going to grab it. I am going to come back to Embase and then go back to this Emtree tab here at the top to find the subject heading. Lifestyle. So lifestyle was 2 words in Medline. It is 1 word here in Embase. So I'm going to grab it. I always go back and check. I check this maybe too frequently just to make sure I'm doing exact translation. So we did explode here. So I'm going to leave this box checked to explode in Embase. I'm going to say add to query builder and see how it says /exp. So it is letting you know you've exploded. I'm going to click search. And then we will do the same thing with this next line. We've got lifestyle as a keyword search. I'm going to copy paste the entire thing. I'm going to paste it over here. I don't know why it pastes with extra spaces. You can also type it out. You don't have to copy paste it. You can type it out if you want to. I'm going to change the syntax and I'm going to click search. And then our next line is 4 or 5. So we're going to do 4 or 5 over here and say combine. And then for our next line, we have a few subject headings here, so we will need to find each of them. So our first one is myocardial infarction. So we will try to find that in Embase. So we're going to go same thing, back to the Emtree tab here at the top to find the subject heading. Oops. So it looks like myocardial infarction in Embase is heart infarction, which is fine. So we'll grab that. We did not explode over here. So I'm going to uncheck this box. I'm going to say add to query builder and search. And now we're going to look for anterior wall myocardial infarction. And we're just going to do the same thing. Anytime you have a subject heading, it's kind of the same thing repeated. So I'm going to grab this one, anterior myocardial infarction, uncheck the box, add to query builder, search. And it will end up being a little bit of a longer search in Embase. I was able to pick and choose these subject headings in Medline. And in Embase, I think it's a little bit easier just to kind of grab them one by one. So I'm going to come back, do the same thing, search inferior, unexplode, see search. So the search does become a little bit longer when you search it this way, but to my knowledge, there's not a way to pick and choose these subheadings in Embase like you can in Medline. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. So now for our next line, I'm just going to grab the keyword line. I'm going to change the syntax like we did before. So once you get it down, it's pretty much the same thing that you're doing repeatedly. And now over here, we did 7 or 8 because we only had 2 lines here. We're just going to make sure that we are combining everything with or. So we're going to grab this because we want to grab the entire concept. So I'm going to grab lines 7 through 10, and we are going to change this to or, and then click combine. And so this is our entire heart attack concept. So now I will combine each of our concepts with and. Let's see if I can. Sorry, there we go. It's not letting me. Okay. So I'm going to grab line 3, line 6, and line 11. And I'm going to leave, we can leave this and now, and I'm going to click combine. And we have our results. And you can sometimes, you're generally going to have more results in Embase than you will in Medline. So over here, you can see we had 123. And then over here in Embase, we have 434. So that's fine. That's kind of typical of what you want to see. So I also want to show you guys how to do an adjacency search. So sometimes it's more beneficial to search something where, you know, you've got a phrase and you don't really know how the author of the article is going to phrase it. Like if you're, the example I use is nursing and stress. If you're trying to look at articles that talk about the relationship between nursing or nurses and stress, you don't really know how it's going to be phrased. So you can search, a more efficient way to search it would be an adjacency search. So you're saying, I want the word nurse. I've truncated after the S, so we'll get anything after the S. We'll get nurses, nurse, nursing, within 3 words or less of the word stress. And again, I've truncated here, so we'll get stress, stressful, anything like that. And I will scroll down and show you actually what this looks like in the results. So you can see stress in nursing. You can see nursing students stress. Let's see. So it's kind of helpful when you don't know how the articles are going to phrase this here, nurses and heightened stress. That's a good example. It just kind of gives you a broader picture than if you were to just search those 2 words right next to each other in the quotes. You would miss stuff where it puts words in between them. So it's a nice, efficient way to search. So again, the syntax is unfortunately not the same in all the databases. So it's ADJ and then the number that you would like in Medline. Same thing though, I'm going to copy paste it. And then in Embase, it is near. So I'm just going to change this to near /3. I'm going to change our syntax. And I'm going to click search. And let's see, 29, 26. Okay. And then if you scroll down, you can kind of see it working, stressors among nursing. And that's a good example. So that is how you would do that. So let's go ahead and move on to translating to Cinahl. Sorry, y'all, this is kind of covering. And I like to use the primary database again. Like I'm not going to translate from Embase to Cinahl. Sometimes things can get a little muddy that way, I think. So I always translate to each database from Medline. Why isn't this going away? Sorry. There we go. I want that to go away. So I'm going to go back to Medline and we're going to do the same thing. Oh, I did also want to note. So if you remember in Embase, we had heart infarction here for the subject heading. You would want to add to our keyword line here, you might want to add heart infarction. So you could come here, say edit. And this happens when you're translating a search. Sometimes you'll find new keywords or things that need to be added. So you could just come here real quick, say heart infarction, or, and add things to your search, just to show you're sort of doing your due diligence and being thorough when you're building your search. If you find new terms, you can go back and add it to your original search. So hopefully this it's thinking. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to do the same thing in Cinahl. So in Cinahl, you'll see here at the top, they are not called medical subject headings. They are called Cinahl subject headings. So I'm going to go to this tab here at the top for Cinahl subject headings. And same thing, I'm going to grab metabolic syndrome, come back here, say browse. And it's the same thing. It's metabolic syndrome X. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to click search database. And this is where it will start to build our search. You'll notice here that instead of that little slash, it says MH metabolic syndrome. It stands for major heading. So that's how it's telling you that it's a subject heading. Okay. So we technically don't need to specify syntax in Cinahl. You can if you want, but it's going to just search everything. So this is something I've discussed with one of our other librarians, but you can actually just leave the syntax off and you can just search like this and it'll still work. So we'll click search. I will combine both of these lines with or, and that is our metabolic syndrome concept. And then lifestyle, so we'll find the subject heading for lifestyle. Same thing, we're going to go back to this Cinahl subject headings tab. And I believe we did explode this here. Yep, we did. So let's see, we're going to grab it and we will explode here and click search. And you'll see there's a little plus symbol after it. So that's how it's telling you you've exploded. So same thing, I'm going to copy paste this without the syntax, just the search terms. Paste it and click search. And then we did 4 or 5. So I'm going to say 4 or 5. Okay, and then same thing, we're going to find these subject headings. So I'm going to go back to subject heading tab. Oh no, sorry, I think my screen just didn't want to work for a second. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to click search, and this is similar to Embase where I'm going to do it one by one. This is our next one, interior wall. And if you'll notice, this is rerouting us back to myocardial infarction. It probably wants us to use the same subject heading for both of these things. For what did we have? For anterior wall and inferior wall. So we actually probably don't need it. So I'm just going to go back. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes there won't be a subject heading. It won't just be different, but it actually just won't exist in one of the other databases. That does happen sometimes too. So we'll just leave that as it is. I will come over here. I will grab our search, our keyword line. Search. And then, okay, so we will do same thing. I will grab line 7 or line 8 and say search with or. Okay. And then we will combine all of them with and. So we have our metabolic syndrome concept, our lifestyle concept, and our heart attack. So I'll say search with and. And we have 48 results, which makes sense because Cinahl, it's a nursing specific database. So it is a smaller database. So you'll generally have less results. You will have more if it is a nursing specific topic or concept. So let's do our last line where we have this nurses adjacent to stress. So I'm going to grab this. And again, the syntax is going to be different. We will have to use syntax for this to let it know that you want to do an adjacency search. It is not ADJ3, it is just N3. And you can change this number if you want to search within 4 words. 3 is kind of the standard starting point where we, and then you can look at the results and decide for yourself if you want to change that number. So I'm going to click search.
Jumping up here.
Oh, someone is not muted. Sorry, okay. So you can see here there's 4,800 results for that line. And over here in Medline, there's only, well, there's about 3,000. But because this is a nursing database, you're getting more results, which is great. And if we scroll down, you can see here we got stress among nurses or stress among nurse academics. So it bolds it for you so you can see the search terms, which is really nice. Let's see. Stress management, yeah, nurse managers. So you can see how that is working within the database, and you have all your terms. So generally, we sort of say translate to have three databases at minimum. So this would, in this case, be your three databases. So you would have Medline, Embase, and Cinahl. And from that point, you have your results, and you would kind of move forward in the process. But that is pretty much it. So I will go ahead and stop the recording.